To me, one of the most corrupt examples of the way the leadership class abuses us and manipulates us and filters information for its own purposes is the Me Too movement, which I think at some point down the line, outside of the media, is probably has actual women being actually abused, trying to get their stories out through the media. But the media is always operating for its own political purposes. And I was thinking about this, of course, as Andrew Cuomo's crimes finally started to come to light. Cuomo, under pressure, let the AG, the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, investigate these charges against him that he routinely abuses women. And let's remember how the press covered Cuomo when he seemed to be the anti-Trump, when Trump's COVID-19 press conferences were not going that well. They were kind of alienating people because Trump was talking too much about himself instead of talking about the suffering of other people. They chose Cuomo. He had these very calm, very stately press conferences while he was responsible for the death of between 14 and 15,000 old people by forcing COVID patients into nursing homes, forcing nursing homes to take COVID patients so that the old people were dying like flies. We all knew this in conservative media. It's kind of a revelation to the left now that this was happening, but at the time, because they were so busy worshiping Andrew Cuomo. Here they are. Here's a montage of them talking about it.
David, we're standing by for Governor Cuomo's press conference, his daily briefing. How would you contrast Cuomo and President Trump's handling of the crisis?
Truth versus mendacity.
Governor Cuomo out there day after day after day, everything Trump isn't. Honest, direct, brave.
Real leadership of the kind the President of the United States should have provided.
Governor Cuomo is clearly living in a totally different reality, the actual one, than the President of the United States.
Governor Cuomo has become a national leader.
For a lot of people, Andrew Cuomo has become the leader of the Democratic Party.
He is conveying incredible strength.
You spoke to National Guard troops today in a stirring speech that, if I wasn't listening carefully, I thought you were sending soldiers off to war.
This has been a remarkable show of leadership by Governor Cuomo in recent days. He's providing hope, but not false hope.
Governor Cuomo, I think, is one of the heroes on the front lines.
With all of this adulation that you're getting for doing your job, are you thinking about running for president?
So, they did this with Michael Avenatti, too, right, who's now behind bars. And you would think at some point, after they've done this a number of times, now they're doing this with this crumbling, dementia-ridden president that we have, the same kind of thing. What's your favorite ice cream, Mr. President? You'd think at some point, if they were really a news media, they would say, we keep making these mistakes about people's character. Maybe we should take a look at some of the people we don't like and see if we were wrong. Maybe we should take another look at Donald Trump and see, was he as bad as we thought he was? But that's not what's happening, right? We're not actually dealing with a biased news media. We're dealing with corporations operating with a certain interest in mind. They don't have to corrupt every single one of their journalists. Every single one of their journalists don't have to be corrupt. They simply have to get rid of anybody who crosses the line so that the rest of the people know what's going on. Like at the New York Times, they fire you if you let an op-ed get by that says something that the woke people don't like, not because they're woke, but because they're a corporation with global interests. That's why. That is why that's happening. And so when you look at Cuomo getting caught, now all these women come forward and they say, Cuomo grabs them, he, touches them, he makes remarks, ugly remarks. Under pressure, Andrew Cuomo turns this over to the Attorney General, but then he starts to hear that the Attorney General, Letitia James, is actually gathering some information. So he starts to complain that it's a political hit. Well, of course it's a political hit. Letitia James is an Attorney General. She wants to be governor. That's what attorney, they call Attorney General an AG. That's what AG stands for. A stands for a person who wants to be, and G stands for governor. They all want to be governor. So of course it's a political hit. However, when she came out with the report, it was very, very well done. It was a plotting, information gathering report because clearly she had the goods. Here's a cut of her telling what she saw. This is cut 7.
Governor Cuomo sexually harassed current and former state employees in violation of both federal and state laws. The Independent's investigation found that Governor Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, many of whom were young women, by engaging in unwanted groping, kisses, hugging, and by making inappropriate comments. Further, the the governor and his senior team took actions to retaliate against at least one former employee for coming forward with her story, her truth. And Governor Cuomo's administration fostered a toxic workplace that enabled harassment and created a hostile work environment where staffers did not feel comfortable coming forward with complaints about sexual harassment due to a climate of fear and given the power dynamics.
Now, but I think obviously treating your employees like this is disgusting, but this is nothing compared to the thousands of old people he slaughtered by his incompetence, right? While the press was going, oh, Governor Cuomo, he's so wonderful. While they were doing that, he was wiping these people out. That's nothing compared to this. Okay, but this is the thing that gets the headlines. Cuomo's response, it was wonderful. He had a pre-recorded response because he knew what was coming down the pike. And so it's cut with like illustrations of what he's talking about while he's talking about it. Let's play just a clip of that, cut 8.
I do it with everyone, black and white, young and old, straight and LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street. I do kiss people on the forehead. I do kiss people on the cheek. I do kiss people on the hand. I do embrace people. I do hug people, men and women. I do on occasion say, ciao Bella. On occasion, I do slip and say sweetheart or darling or honey.
What I love about this, aside from the illustration where he's talking slowly, if you're not watching, he's talking slowly so they can put up the pictures of him hugging different kinds of people. What essentially he's saying is these women say they've been molested, but I'll tell them when they're molested. They don't know when they've been molested. That's essentially what he's saying. He's not saying they're lying. He's saying they don't know what they're seeing. Yeah, I put my hand on her breast, but that's just the kind of thing I do. Yeah, I rubbed her backside for 15 seconds, but I'm just a kissy kind of guy. I'll tell you, I'm the governor. I'll tell you when you've been molested. Don't tell me when I'm molesting you. I'm the governor. I will tell you when you've been molested. Nothing has been more corrupted than this Me Too movement, which has a lot of legitimacy, especially in Hollywood, where women are treated like property. It has legitimacy to it, but we all, George Stephanopoulos, his job with Bill Clinton was silencing women who claimed to have been molested and even violently raped by Bill Clinton. That was his job. He intimidated the press. There are movies. There's a movie called The War Room. You can see him intimidating the press into keeping quiet. As a reward for that, he was put in charge of ABC News. Why he got that job, he has no journalistic experience that I know of, but he got the job at ABC News. Then when Hillary Clinton was running, the Jeffrey Epstein story started to come up. George Stephanopoulos attended a party in honor of Jeffrey Epstein, this guy who sold essentially who slave sold underage women to powerful men. That's what he apparently did, allegedly. He went to a party for Jeffrey Epstein. Stephanopoulos went to a party for Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein had been convicted the first time of doing that, right? So he went to a party honoring him. Then Project Veritas came up with a video showing an ABC News newswoman, an anchor woman, saying, Amy Robach, saying she had the Epstein story as early as 2016. She said, I had Clinton, I had everything. But Hillary Clinton was running for president, and that story was spiked, according to this video of Hillary Robach. She said they spiked the story. No one has ever asked George Stephanopoulos what he had to do with that. He was in charge of the news department. No one has ever asked him what he had to do with spiking that story, okay? Instead, what happened, that was at ABC, what happened is at CBS, they fired a woman who they thought had released the video to Project Veritas. At NBC, meanwhile, they covered up Harvey Weinstein. They forced Ronan Farrow to take that story to the New Yorker. They covered that up at NBC. While they were covering up Matt Lauer allegedly chasing women around, chasing every intern around, and apparently assaulting one intern so forcefully that she fainted and had to be taken down to the infirmary. He was accused of sodomizing a coworker while she wept and asked him not to. He was accused of that too, and NBC was covering that up as well. These are the people who then, NBC are the people who then released the Hollywood Access tape where Donald Trump was saying ugly things about women. And that's suddenly the feminists took to the streets in their pink hats. Suddenly the feminists took to the streets in their pink hats. Think about how badly this legitimate complaint that women have about the way they're treated in the workplace. Think about how completely corruptly it has been handled by the media. The thing is, on the right, we have to stop. We have to stop being amazed. We have to stop being gobsmacked and flabbergasted by how corrupt and how biased they are, because it's not bias. It is not bias. It's corruption. It is corruption. The news media has been corrupted by the fact that it is taken over by these multinational corporations that have, one, a complete commitment to globalism, two, a complete commitment to the Chinese market, and three, a commitment to the idea that the elite are important and special and should be protected, and that you, the individual, the people for whom this country was formed, mean absolutely nothing.